Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana
Sahano Bhunaktu
Viryam
Viram
Karvavahai
Karvavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastamavidvishavahai.
Tejasvinavadhitamastamavishavahai
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti.
Shanti. So we will continue where we left off. We are on chapter 4 of the Kena Upanishad, and we will be chanting mantra number 6. So I will chant, you repeat after me. Tadvat tadanam nama
Tadvat Tadnama
tadvanam ityupasitavyam
Tadvanam Ityupasitavyam
tadvanam ityupasitavyam
Tadvanam Ityupasitavyam
saya etad evam
Saetad evam
vedabhihainam
Vedabhihainam
sarvani bhutani samvanchanti
Sarvani Bhutani
Vanchanti.
Sammanichanti.
Okay, so I'm just muting you all. So tat means that, and her is a expletive. That indeed is Brahman. Indeed, that Brahman nama is well known. So tadha is tat so tadha he nama, that Brahman is indeed the well-known Brahman. So it's tadvanam. Tadvanam is that which is well adorable to all. So he's saying tat nama, that name, which is that Brahman's name, is well known as what? Tadvanam. Tadvanam means the one who is to be worshipped. And therefore, upasitavyam, that Brahman should be worshipped, should be meditated upon as what? As Tadvanam, as that entity which is worthy of worship. And Sarvani Bhutani, all beings, Abhisamvanchanti, will adore Enam, that Brahman. And not only that, Saha, whoever Etat Veda Evam, in this manner meditates upon Brahman, what will happen? He will become Brahman. So, whoever meditates on this Brahman in this manner. So, in short, in plain English, that Brahman is well known as Tadvanam, the one who is to be meditated upon or to be worshipped upon. And how should he be worshipped? He should be worshipped as Tadvanam, as worthy of the worship. And all who worship him and all who meditate upon him will adore him in this manner. So this is the manner in which manner he is to be worshipped. So you are entering the fourth upasana. And as you can see, there is a attribute attached to this upasana. So it's a guna vishishta upasana. Brahman which is endowed with some gunas. And here you have to relate to the story. How do you know that Brahman has gunas or Brahman is glorious? Because in this story, all the powers which the Devas thought they had, they realized actually belong to Ishvara. So that is the story. And if you recall, Agni's burning power and Vayu's lifting power, they didn't really belong to Agni or Vayu Devata. They belong to Ishvara alone. And you have the Gayatri mantra where you say Tat Savitu Varenyam Bhargava. The brilliance in the sunlight, in the sun. Savituhu Varenyam Bhargava. Savituhu Bhargava. That brilliance in the sunlight, that also belongs to Ishvara. And therefore Varenyam. Therefore that Ishvara is worthy of worship. That sun, that Ishvara in the form of the sun is worthy of worship. So you have to note that in the Gayatri mantra, the word Varenyam is equivalent to Tadvanam in this mantra, being worthy of worship. And if you remember Bhagavad Gita, Yad Yad Vibhuti Mat Sattvam, anything which is glorious, who does it belong to? It belongs to Ishvara alone, said Krishna in that chapter. And therefore, to indicate this particular attribute, Tadvanam is used. The word Tadvanam is used. So, Vanam has two meanings. The commonly known meaning is the forest. Vanam is a forest. But the dhatu, the root one, also has another meaning, and that is to worship. So, Pujya Yogyata, the eligibility to be worshipped, that is being indicated by Tadvanam. Tesham Devatanam Vanam. That Devata who is eligible, who is worthy of worship. So he's saying any Devata who has that Yogyata for worship, who is capable of being worshipped, that glory of the Devata, what glory? Being eligible for worship. That glory of any Devata, it belongs only to me, Ishvara. How is this to be understood? Shankara explains. Being Pratyak Atma, Brahman being Pratyak Atma. Pratyak Atma is what? Inner self, the inner essence of all beings. That Brahman is worthy of worship. And therefore, whenever we meditate upon Brahman, we're talking about Saguna Brahman, right? So use the word Tadvanam and meditate on that aspect which is found glorious and worthy of worship in Ishvara. So Tadvanam iti upasitavyam. Meditate in this manner. Repeating the name is the japa. By acknowledging that Ishvara is superior to me, what happens? My ahankara becomes weaker, and therefore yaha etad evam veda. The benefit is being given here of this guna vishishta upasana, of worshipping the Lord as that entity which is worthy of being worshipped. And we have seen this general rule in the Bhagavad Gita also. In whatever form the Lord is worshipped, the benefit I will get from that worship will come in that form only. So if I meditate upon Ishvara as omniscient, I will get jnanam. If I meditate Ishvara as omnipotent, I will get Shakti. If I meditate upon Ishvara as Shri, I will get wealth. If I meditate upon Ishvara as Sundaram, I will get beauty. This we have seen in Bhagavad Gita also. In whichever way people approach me, said Lord Krishna, in that way only I give them the benefits. So this is that same thing being repeated here. And now we will look at the next mantra, which is mantra number 7. We will chant Upanishadam bho
Upanishadambho
Bruhit yuktata Upanishad
Bruhi Tat Upanishad
Upanishad
Brahmim Vavata Upanishad Shadam Ubrumeti
Brahmi
Bhavatat
Upanishad
Upanishad
Upbrahmeti
Brahmim Vavata Upanishadam Abrumeti
Brahmi
Ta
Bhavatat
Upanishad
Upanishadam Brumeti.
So now what does the student do? He says Bhoho, O Acharya or teacher, Bruhi. Bruhi is part of the word Bruhit Yuktva. So that has to be broken up to Bruhi iti Uktva. So Bhoho, Bruhi, or teacher, teach me Upanishadam. So can you imagine? After all that has been taught, then Indraji gets up and says, oh teacher, please teach me the Upanishad. Okay, so this is what is the state of affairs. And iti, the student asked in this manner, hey teacher, please teach me the Upanishad. And what did teacher say? Iti Upanishad Ukta. I have already taught you the Upanishad, he said. Iti Upanishad Ukta Te. I have already taught the Upanishad to you, and Abruma. Abruvan means he has taught. I have taught the Upanishad to you. Va, which indeed, Brahim. Brahim means the what deals with Brahman is Brahim. So the first range of sadhanas, which were what upasanas, they have been talked about, and they are for the Madhyama Adhikari, the middling student. Remember that Uttama Adhikari does not need upasana because his mind is already prepared. He is already sadhana chatushtha sampannaha, and therefore by Shravanam alone, at the most, with Mananam, he understands Brahma Vidya straight away. But if someone is a Mandha Adhikari, not a Madhyama Adhikari, for a Madhyama Adhikari, upasana is necessary. But for a Mandha Adhikari, the lowest Adhikari whose mind is not been prepared, even by Karma Yoga, this upasana also will not work. And therefore, a person who is a beginner, for him, Karma Yoga is to be prescribed. And therefore, when the student says, please teach me the Upanishad, the teacher says, oh student, it is this very Upanishad which you have asked for, which I have taught you. And he says, Brahmin Upanishad. So, Brahmin is Brahmanaha Vishaya, dealing with the subject of Brahman. And Upanishad te uktva, I have taught the Upanishad to you. Why does the teacher say this? Because after having been taught, the student is asking, please teach me the Upanishad. So he thinks that what was taught has to be followed up with something else. And by saying this, Upanishad te yukta, the teacher is indicating that in the study of Atma Jnanam, there is no other sadhana other than Shravanam. Only Shravanam is the sadhana required for moksha. Once Atma Jnanam has been acquired, nothing more is required. So to understand that, you have to take the case of Karma Jnanam as opposed to Atma Jnanam. Karma Jnanam meaning the knowledge of any ritual. Say Putra Kameshti Yajna is there. So the Veda Purva teaches you that. And what will you learn from there? You will actually have to learn the mantras and how the Homa Kunda is to be prepared, who are the priests. The entire procedure is laid down in the Karma Kanda that has to be understood and studied. So that is the Karma Jnanam part of it. But in the case of Karma Jnanam, pure acquisition of that Jnanam has no prayojanam, has no benefit at all. So after knowing how the ritual is to be performed, one is required to actually perform the karma of the ritual, to actually perform the ritual. And performance of the ritual is dependent on the various factors of action. So karta, karanam, all these things are there. Therefore, in the case of any karma, any jnanam which is about a ritual, the jnanam alone is not sufficient for a benefit. You have to follow up that jnanam with action. But in the case of jnanam, that is not necessary. The jnanam itself is sufficient. And therefore, we give the example of cutting a banana. So, cutting a banana and the act of cutting itself divides the banana into two pieces. There is no separate action needed for dividing the banana into two pieces. Similarly, in the case of Atma Jnanam, the act of acquiring the Jnanam itself is the act of moksha. Nothing more is required. Then, so what is required? For a person who asks this question, the implication is that he should go back to Karma Yoga, then to Upasana Yoga, then to Shravanam, then to Mananam, and then to Nididhyasana. A person who doesn't understand the Upanishad, don't discourage him, but he has to start all over again from karma only. It means he has not understood. His mind is not ready. Sadhana chatushtaya sampatti is not there. Now we will look at mantra number 8, which we will chant. Tasyai tapo damak karmeti.
तस्यै
तपोदमकर्मे
तपोदमः कर्मेति
Pratishtha Veda Sarvangani Satyamayatanam.
प्रतिष्ठा
प्रतिष्ठा
वेदा
वेदा
सर्वाङ्गानि
सर्वाङ्गानि
सत्यमायतनम्.
सत्यमायतनम्.
So, what is required? That is being now said. For a person who is in this particular state of not having understood, who doesn't have sadhana chatushtayam, what is required? The whole range of sadhanas are given. Tapaha, austerity; damaha, sense control; karma, presence of performance of duty; vaidika karma; iti. These tasyai pratishtaha. These are the legs. Vedaha sarva angani. The Vedas are the limbs, and Satyam ayatanam. Satyam is the ayatanam, the abode. What does it mean? So he's saying that in today's language, if a building has to be constructed, for example, what do you first do? You have to lay down a strong foundation. Without a strong foundation, you will find that any building will collapse. And this is also true with regard to Atma Vidya, with regard to Brahma Vidya. And therefore, even though this is a Vedantic portion, this is Upanishad found in the Veda Anta portion, the Upanishad is indicating the foundation, which consists of tapaha, so life of moderation, discipline, avoidance of excesses. So the golden mean, willful self-denial to establish my mastery over my sense organs. That is tapaha. The willful, voluntary self-denial is the key. If somebody else forces it onto you, it is no longer tapaha. It qualifies under torture. Okay. So a voluntary self-denial of what you like. This is for what purpose? To establish that I am the master of my sense organs and that my mind is not subject to the control of my sense organs. So that is tapaha. Then there is damaha, sense control, sensory discipline, so management of the sense organs also. Then karma. So karma is, Shankara defines as swadharma anusthana, performance of one's own duties as well as the performance of any actions meant for spiritual growth. And therefore note that these actions will not give you money or fame, they will only give you chitta shuddhi. And Shankara here in his comment writes that these kind of qualities which are being talked about here are talked about in the Bhagavad Gita also, where amanitvamadambhitvam ahimsakshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham sthairamatma vinigraha indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadihi dukkha doshanudarshanam, and so on. So there are 3 or 4 verses in chapter 13 which give you various qualities which are necessary for as the foundation of the study of the scriptures. And therefore, when you say Veda here, in this mantra Veda means not only the study of the scriptures, but it means the Parayanam also. So the study, the repeating, memorizing the scriptures and studying the meaning, both are being conveyed by the use of the word Veda over here. We are talking about the values. The most important of them being what? Satyam. And therefore, in this verse, Atma Jnanam is being compared to a cow. Actually, you can take any animal, but since we are all Vedantics, we are taking it as cow, okay? Because cow is sacred for us. So what? The sadhanas are compared to the legs of the cow. That's why he says that tasyai pratishtaha. Sadhanas are compared to the legs of the cow. What is important? The cow cannot stand without its legs, and therefore the body will not be able to be maintained without the legs. And what are the body? What is the body? The body and all the other limbs, the ears, nose, etc. They are called sarva angani, all other parts. So the Veda is the body. So he says Vedaha sarvangani. The Veda is the body and other parts, but it cannot stand without the legs. And the legs are what? The legs are the sadhanas which you do. And then he said Satyam Ayatanam. The Ayatanam, the residence of the cow, which is the cow shed actually. The cow shed is Satyam. And if Satyam is not there, what will happen? If the cow shed is not there, you will not find the cow there the next morning. And therefore, if the Satyam is not there, then knowledge will no longer be available. And therefore, we say Satyam eva jayate. Which Upanishad? I know it's the, symbol, but which Upanishad?
Mundaka.
Mundaka Upanishad. We should not forget, okay, all these things. Satyameva Jayate is a very famous line in India, but it comes from a Upanishad only. And now we look at the last mantra. We will read. Yo va etamevam vedapahatya
Vedapahaya
Apmanam anante swarge loke jayaye pratitishthati jaye pratitishthati Okay. So he says yaha vai. So that va has to be, when the sandhi is broken, that becomes vai. Yaha vai, one indeed who etam vedaha understands this Upanishad. How evam, in this manner. In which manner? The manner in which it has been taught. Apahatya papmanam, destroys all his sins, and pratitishthati, he gets established where Jaya, in the highest. In the highest is in Brahman, which is Anante, limitless, Swarge Loke. So Jaya is the adjective to Jaya and Anante adjective to Swarge Loke. Swarge Loke is Brahman over here, not Swarga. Therefore, he gets established in Brahman, which is the highest and the limitless, Pratitishthati. That Pratitishthati again repeated. So one who understands the Upanishad in this particular manner destroys sin and gets established in the highest, limitless Brahman. And again the word is repeated. Pratitishthati, gets established in Brahman. So the Upanishad is giving different advice to different people. So a lot of people say that is why we don't read Shastram, because there is no uniform set of commandments. Many other religions, they give you only a few commandments which everybody is supposed to follow. But here, Veda says to some people, you should get married, have children, get your children married. And other times it says, what is the use of family and children? Don't have attachment. Does it help in achieving jnanam? So why all these differences? Why not one uniform advice? How do I know which advice is addressed to be, which one to follow? So why is this so? Because that is the very reason for which we have multiple gods. Like, why do we have multiple gods? Some people like male gods, some people like female gods, some people like mixture of male and female gods, some people like animal gods. So we are catering to everyone. We are a supermarket. We cater to everybody. All sort of people are catered to. So hence, the advice given depends upon the level of the student. If a person is a Mandha Adhikari, the lowest level, then he should be taught Karma Yoga. He should be advised to do Karma Yoga. If a person is Madhyama Adhikari, he should be taught to do Upasana Yoga. And if he is Uttama Adhikari, then he will be taught Jnana. So this Madhyama, remember, can do more Upasana, and together with Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. But the Uttama needs Jnana Yoga alone. And therefore, you will find that all three of these, Karma, Upasana and Jnanam, are there in all the three ashramas, Brahmacharya, Grihastha and Vanaprastha. But the predominance varies according to the people who are in the ashrama. And here he is saying, supposing you do all this, you go through the entire teaching and you understand in this manner. So in this manner is, you have to connect it to the very beginning. Evam. That evam has to be connected to what? Pratibodha viditam matam. I hope you remember. What is pratibodha viditam matam?
I see Brahman in everything. Brahman is
Pratibodha. In every thought,
everything.
Brahman is revealed. And therefore, in and through every transaction, Brahman is revealed. Brahman is the very you who is always evident. Therefore, evam means all that. And then what is the phalam? Papmanam apahatya. He will destroy all his papams. All his papams mean what? So the commentators say that papam is of three types. Results of bad actions. Okay. And results of good actions also. So why is result of good action a papam? Because from the Vedantic angle, papam and punyam are both karma phalam. And we are trying to get rid of the karma phalam. So results of bad actions, karma phalam of bad actions, karma phalam of good actions, so papam and punyam, both are papam. And of course, there is the very fundamental papam, which is ajnanam, the original problem, the fundamental problem. And once these three have been destroyed, which means what? You have disassociated yourself from the body. And therefore, only punyam and papam have been destroyed. How? Through destruction of ajnanam, through jnanam. And therefore, swarge loke pratitishthati. And Shankara here says that swarge loke has to be read as ananta swarge loke, which means param brahman. Not swarga loka, not brahman loka as we understand, but ananta para brahman is ananta swarge loke. So here swarge loke means brahman alone. And why? That's why JA, the greatest, the ultimate. There is nothing greater than Brahman. And then he says Pratitishthati. The first Pratitishthati is to indicate that Tacha Sadhaka is now a Jnani, is a Jnananishtha, he is established in Brahman, and there is no slipping back to the Jivatma status. He will never be away from Brahman because he is Brahman itself. The second Pratitishthati is repeated to indicate that the Upanishad has concluded. And in the tradition, the repetition of the last word always indicates the conclusion of that text. Because in the old days, everything was oral. There was no full stop. There was no line underneath to indicate a conclusion. Therefore, Pratitishthati, the repetition, means that the text is concluded. So, iti chaturtha khandaha, here ends the fourth chapter. Iti Kena Upanishad. Here ends the Kena Upanishad also. Okay. Any questions? We have taken only half an hour.
Om Acharya.
Om Tanmagi.
Acharya, the previous shloka before this, I'm not entirely sure because a cow suddenly came in there and I didn't know what happened. So could you just once briefly explain that?
Because we say that tasyehi pratishtaha. Pratishta means legs, support. And they say sarvangani, limbs. And they say ayatanam, there is a abode. Right? So you have the limbs, the body, and the residence. I said cow. We can also say horse. But cow is easy to relate to because a lot of us have seen cows. And therefore, the whole thing is being connected to as the support, as the foundation, and the body. If you can think of the construction site, then you can say that the foundation is the sadhana and the body is the structure. And the ayatanam, of course, is the flat inside the building.
Okay. Okay. I got very confused by the cow. Okay. All right. Thank
Cow.
you. All right. Okay. Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So as you can see, the last two chapters, and since all of you all are Uttama Adhikaris, you may not have, really been interested in the last 2 chapters. Last 2 chapters are only meant for Manda Adhikaris or Madhyama Adhikaris. The first 2 chapters conclude the Vedantic portion of it. As I said, this has another Bhashyam by Shankaracharya. He is the only Upanishad on which Shankaracharya has written 2 Bhashyams. But we'll not go into that. I have done this. Most of the first 2 chapters are based upon the Bhashyam. The second and third and fourth chapters don't have much of a Bhashyam, so there are no ideas to convey. So
This is Pada Bhashyam, isn't it, sir?
I have taken Pada Bhashyam. I have not considered Vakya Bhashyam because there are only a few different ideas. But for those of you interested, it's a good thing to study.
Yes.
So why we are doing with Bhashyam, at least the next 2 also we'll do with Bhashyam, Taittiriya and Mandukya. So basic 6 of them, if you have seen, then you can actually pick up any Bhashyam text and you can understand. Okay, so with this we'll stop. I have already forwarded to you Taittiriya Upanishad. So from next Saturday onwards, we'll start Taittiriya Upanishad. Hari Om. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadarpurnam Evavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Namah Shivaya. Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you, Acharya.